Welcome back to another week of the Dynasty Dugout Show. This time we're going to talk complex and some DSL. It's still early for the DSL, but the complex has been full swing for almost 2 months now, which is kind of crazy. The season has just flown by, and we're already halfway through the season as we approach July and the All-Star break of the regular season as well. But man, it's crazy to me, but I'm excited to break down some of these guys and who's moving up boards and who's worth discussing. But I've got with me Rhys White as always. Rhys, how we doing?
I'm doing good. I just got back from vacation, but before vacation, I went and saw Stockton Ports versus the San Francisco Giants affiliate. I got to see a rehabbing big leaguer and Matt Gage, and I also got to see some other prospects. Cam Maldonado looked good. I think did he get promoted to high A? I totally missed that on vacation if he did. He's too good for single. He's too good for single A. And then I saw Shotaro Mori. There's a lot to be said about there. I think it's a lot more famous than good. And yeah, that Stockton Ports team was not very good. Like there was like maybe 0 big leaguers. Like it was really like a bad showing for everybody. And but yeah, Cam Maldonado looked good. And then there was another prospect on Giants that I'm totally blanking on right now that I'll probably tweet about at some point or post in the Discord that people should be paying attention to a possible 45 in that system, because the Giants fans need something going on, because what's happening at the big league level is ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
How was did you see Brayson Guedes any? What'd you think of him? Because he seems to always be buzzy.
He was a late scratch because he got sick. Is the buzz that I heard. But I talked to some scouts who were there for the entire series, and they were like, not quite non-prospect status, but like really inching towards it.
Yeah, it's almost like they got a little aggressive with him and just didn't really pay off.
They got aggressive with a lot of their guys that I don't think they should have been as aggressive with.
Yeah, and hopefully the Giants will have Joswar up soon. That would be encouraging to get to see him. I'm not sure we see Luis Hernandez up to single A. It wouldn't shock me at the end of the year, but that would be a fun duo to see up there in single A. But let's talk about some of these guys in the complex. And there's some names that have been breaking out. And one that we're going to talk about that's already been promoted to single A, but the rest are still hanging out in the complex, doing a lot of good stuff. The first one we'll discuss is Franklin Primera. The Red Sox seemingly have a breakout every year, it seems, on the hitting side of things. And Primera seems to be it this year. He was good in the DSL last year, but he didn't have any power. He hit for average. He didn't strike out. And that's remained this year in the complex. He's got a 207 WRC plus. If I'm not mistaken, it is the top of all complex hitters. 8 home runs, 4 stolen bases. And the slash line's pretty silly: 433, 556, 742. And it's over 127 plate appearances. So it's not like we're talking about a couple weeks sample. So what Primera is doing is pretty crazy. And the data looks pretty solid on him too. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on him, Rhys. How high are we going on him? I'm updating the ranks. I'm trying to figure out where in the world does this guy slot. But he's inside my top 200. I know that. And there's potential maybe to push him a little bit higher just based on what I'm seeing, in hopes that it's sustainable. But what's your thoughts there on Primera?
Yeah, I'm probably going to put him around top 200, like that sort of bucket of players, because I want to see what he looks like on video against even single A pitching, because even like the complex pitching is not great. But like you said last year, he kind of hit a couple like benchmarks that you want to see. He didn't strike out a lot. He didn't hit for a lot of power. But I mean, watching some of these DSL streams and stuff, you're lucky if you get one pitch in the zone. So you're not going to be able to hit a lot of home runs that way. So he's got a patient approach. He's working counts pretty well. He's not swinging, missing a lot at this level. And I think at this point he's probably ready for a single A promotion with the bat. With the glove, obviously we have no idea. I haven't heard anything about him being like the best catching prospect, like defensively or anything. But the bat's pretty much ready right now to get promoted to single A.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm not really sure what they're waiting on. I'm kind of hopeful it'll be next week. Really, either the next 2 weeks, because Salem will be down in Augusta next week and then Columbia the week after. So I'd love to get to see him on that roster. But he's hit a ball 111 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive. The 90th percentile is like 104. Contact rates are really, really good. I mean, no shock by what you see based on his strikeout numbers, but it's like a 92% in zone contact. So he's doing a lot of damage. The power breakout seems to be legitimate. So I'm really intrigued to see him in single A. I can't go like top 100 crazy on him until we see him face single A pitching. Just it is what it is. But this next guy actually is in single A now, and he is off to a good start. Kind of the thing that was holding him back, almost even holding him back, is just these case where you can only be so aggressive, I think, on the complex guys until we see them in single A. But Alexander Frias, who is with the Brewers org, another one where they just develop and develop. He's a young 18-year-old, 6'2", lefty. He's got 5 home runs, 15 stolen bases on the year. He's already hit 1 home run in single A this week with 3 stolen bases after he was promoted up there. Slash on the year is 417, 493, 652. Too soon to really speak on the single A slash, but strikeout rate looks really good. The walk rate, pretty solid. The launch angles are the biggest question, I think, in the profile, but this guy hits the ball hard and he's a fun prospect. And I even saw a pretty prominent person put on social media yesterday, is this guy already a top 100 prospect? I'm not sure I'm ready to say that, but where are you at on Frias?
I'm going to be a little bit more on the, like, I'm going to slow roll my ranking on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's okay. He has definitely got a lot of buzz. He was picked up in a ton of my leagues. It was interesting. I just logged on. I was like, oh, I'm going to place a fab bid and, or see how my fab bids went. Sorry. And you know, I thought I was, you know, I could probably sneak him in for like, you know, 5% of fab. No, that did not get him at all. So, you know, there's some buzz forming around him. He's probably gonna be a top 100 on some people's lists. I think that might be a little aggressive for my taste, but he's, you know, if the launch angles are good and, you know, if he continues this, he's a good athlete. He hits the ball hard. There's a lot of upside here, and you know he's in the right organization to sort of maximize those sort of skill sets, because the Brewers are just consistently turning out and drafting, developing, and signing really, really quality players. At one point, do they sort of leverage that into major league trades at the real life level? But Frias is definitely someone who I would be buying in on. You know, I wish I was more aggressive on him because then I could have more shares of him.
Yeah, and one of the leagues I'm in, I thought I had to put a pretty heavy bid on him. Jeff Ponce got him for like 210 out of 1,000, and I'd put in for like 160. I was like, that's a pretty good bid, and Jeff scooped him up several weeks ago. So unfortunate, but I'll be interested to watch a couple things with him at the single A level. He hits the ball hard. Like everybody's probably seen, he had a 116. It was going pretty crazy on social media, and the 90th is like 106. So he hits the ball pretty hard, but the contact skills are fine. They've been fine, I'll say. But again, like, we talk about complex pitching. You get a lot of meatballs there, not great pitching. So I'm watching that. I'm watching the approach because the chase rate, while not high at the complex, was like 30%. And also the ground ball rates have been a little higher than I'd like to see. So those are the things just to kind of watch out for. If he checks some of those boxes and all right, he's making contact, the approach is being serviceable, and he's not running like a 50+% ground ball rate, then yeah, I mean, maybe there's a case for this guy to be a top 100 prospect by season's end. But we'll see how he handles single A. That'll be pretty telling. But yeah, the next guy is a guy out west who you'll probably see soon. I would be shocked if he's not in single A before long, and that's Alessander De La Cruz with the Rockies. He's 20 years old, so he's older than a lot of the complex guys. And it's actually his second stint at the complex after 2 DSL stints. So we look at these things and it's kind of like, all right, why? And typically it tells us a lot about what we need to know about a player. But again, he's running a 187 WRC plus. It's one of the best in the complex. His first DSL season was okay. Then his second was really good. The complex last year was fine. He was injured some, but now back at the complex this year, 4 homers, 8 stolen bases, and 121 plate appearances, hitting over 400, near 500 OBP. I'm curious if you've heard anything about this guy from any of your contacts out there, considering some of the Rockies guys are pretty close. And what's the vibe on Alessander De La Cruz?
He's an interesting profile, signed out of Germany. So it is not your typical, you know, guy from, the Dominican or Venezuela or stuff. So he was a little bit more raw coming in, is what I was told. I heard one of my scouting contacts that I talked to, I was like, hey, who's coming up on the complex? He came up as a throw-in sort of comment. He was like, he looks like a potential like right fielder, like maybe a second division sort of guy, but he's hitting the ball really, really well. The one problem is that he's been so slow played in his professional career that his 40-man timeline is all sorts of screwed up. Like at this point, like he's a 2027 guy, so he's going to have to add it next off season. And if the Rockies, and I don't imagine they're going to be a competitive team next year, they might have to find a spot for him because he hits the ball hard. Honestly, at this point, the complex is proving to be no problem for him. I mean, he did well last year. A 108 WRC plus as a 19-year-old in the complex is not that bad. You're 8% better than league average, which is, good. He does strike out quite a bit recently. Up until now, he's not striking out as much. So if he can sort of keep the strikeout rates down while hitting the ball hard, this is an interesting-ish prospect, even though he is on a weirder, unconventional timeline, because oftentimes, unless a guy is injured, you don't see a guy who's coming up on his, next season will be his 40-man year. He'll have to be out of the 40-man in a year and a half, basically. So I'll keep an eye on him. Maybe in a deeper 500 prospect league, throw a couple of dollars on him in Fab or whatnot. But it's not someone that I would be jumping out to unless you see him in Fresno. And I'm probably going to try and get out and see him because I hear that the next crop of Rockies guys is actually kind of interesting. And they always seem to have interesting guys in the complex who, for some reason or another, in single A or high A, sort of fizzle out. They lose a little bit of that fantasy appeal. So he might be part of that, or he might actually be a pretty interesting prospect. I'm very excited to see him. I'm hoping that he's coming up here soon because Fresno does make a swing by down in the southern part of the California League here soon.
Nice. Yeah. I'd say he's one of the bigger wild cards on our list so far that we've talked about, and probably of all the guys, but I do think there's some interesting traits there as well. This next guy, Twins prospect, Jhomnardo Reyes. Now, he was super buzzy the first week. He was the guy that came out of the gates, guns a-blazing at the complex. Twins outfield prospect. He's 6'3", listed 186, so it's a good frame for an 18-year-old. And he hits the ball hard. He's got 4 home runs. He's got 7 steals, but I will caution and say he's been caught 5 times. Last year in the DSL, it was 10 stolen bases on 17 attempts. So when you're stealing at such low rates like that, you're probably not going to get the green light very often. I don't have any clock times on, so I can't speak to the sprint speed, but the power is there. He gets good loft. It gets to the pull side pretty often. And there's some pretty interesting traits on Reyes as well. In particular, I think the exit velocities have been really, really good. We talked about Frias and his exit velocities. Reyes is running a 9th percentile tick higher at 107. The contact rates are a little bit better than Frias as far as end zone contact looks, and the chase rates lower as well. So it's a pretty good combo of skills there. If you're super hype on what Frias is doing, I think you got to like what Reyes has done so far this year. And if you can get him cheaper, considering all the hype on social media about Frias, then you certainly should. But where are we at on Jhomnardo Reyes? And I'll spell that because it's funky. It's Jhomnardo.
I'm just gonna go with Reyes. Even looking at the name and you saying it, I'm just that one's gonna trip me up for a while. It's a good profile. Probably another corner outfielder, power. If he's gonna be this, how do you put it? Reckless on the base pass. If you get caught 5 times in the complex, there's obviously, it might be because it's not just all about raw speed on the base pass. It's about, timing and, reading the pitcher and stuff. Maybe he's just a little bit behind on that aspect of his game. But there's power here. He's making good contact. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Another one that I really hope gets promoted to single A. But, he's probably going to be a slower burn. He's only 18 years old. If he was eligible for this draft class, he'd probably be a first round type talent with the sort of tools that he's showing off. So, kind of value him in that sort of range. So maybe a top 250, 300 prospect. So he's someone that I'm really excited about. I'm excited to see how the season goes. He probably gets a light, 3 to 4 weeks in single A where people will get some data. And if he hits the ball hard, there'll be some buzz in the offseason. So maybe now's your chance to get in before he really takes off. And if you can get him for significantly cheaper than Reyes, that is a fantastic bit of business on your part.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very intrigued about what he's doing. And again, if he's at the complex Florida State League, then we're getting plenty of data on him, which will be fun. And everybody will just lose their mind. So get in sooner than later in case that happens, in my opinion. The next guy is somebody that I haven't seen get a lot of public buzz, surprisingly, but he's another one that from the jump was really good. And that's Wilberson De Pena with the Yankees. Now, he is older prospect. He is 19 years old. So not too old for the complex, but he's older than a lot of these guys we've discussed. He was an Angels prospect for a while, 2 seasons in the DSL there, traded to the Yankees last year. at the trade deadline, and I cannot remember who he was traded for. Was it Peraza? Was that trade?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, that sounds right in my brain. But anyway, he's a Yankees prospect now, and Yankees prospects typically get the big buzz, and he certainly earned it. 11 home runs and 168 plate appearances, 17 stolen bases on 22 attempts, and a 358, 417, 657 slash. It looks good to me when I've seen him. I'm pretty intrigued, but De Pena is kind of the unbuzzy name of this group so far, and I'm curious what you've seen or heard about Wilberson De Pena.
I mean, the fact that he's a double DSL guy, I think that sometimes with the new, I say new, it's going to be old here in a couple months. Domestic roster limits, teams, especially the Yankees, have actually shown a propensity to keep guys at the complex for an extra year. I know he's with the Angels and stuff, but this is the breakout that we've been wanting to see. I mean, he wasn't really that crazy good in the 2 seasons prior. He's doubled his career home run tally in 1 season, basically. Like, he's kind of like gone crazy. I mean, 11 home runs, 17 stolen bases over a full season wouldn't be that bad. He's done it in 168 plate appearances. Like, he's worth picking up, seeing if there's anything here. Yankees prospects do tend to see their value sort of skyrocket a little bit higher than, maybe that their true talent level should be, which, might present itself some buy high or sell high opportunities here. But I'd be riding the De Pena wave. I think it's a very it's an interesting bucket of tools with a good organization behind it. And I think that, at this point in the season, we're probably not getting like the big, massive breakout guy who you have to spend all your fab on. So maybe taking some of these smaller calculated shots with the last bit of your fab. You probably spent a lot of your fab on Eric Hartman, and rightfully so. De Pena is definitely someone that I'd be taking those little, like 5% of your fab sort of bids on him and see how it goes. And then if it doesn't work out, you just drop him.
Yeah, I mean, he's already reached 111 max EV this year, so pretty solid for a 19-year-old. The contact is fine, and there's some decent. I think the speed's actually there as well. He's 6'2", 185, pretty good athlete. So I'm intrigued. Another one that should be in single A like last week. So he's one to watch out for sure. And the last complex guy before we quick hit some DSL, Cardinals Sebastian Dos Santos. He was arguably one of the better DSL guys. He hit the complex. He's already to single A as well. So two guys on the list have gone to single A. And while Frias has been there for a week, I think Dos Santos is on his 2nd week, if I'm not mistaken, in single A in the Florida State League. So there's some more public data on him, but he was going crazy at the complex. It didn't show in the slash. He had 264, but he had a 429 OBP, 586 slug, 6 home runs, 10 stolen bases. He's already 7 for 7 on stolen bases in single A, which is awesome to see. Very encouraging. A little bit smaller guy, 6 foot, listed 140, probably a little bit bigger, but he has reached 109.5 already in single A, which is good. I think that Dos Santos is kind of just one of those well-rounded prospects that does a lot of things well. And he's certainly catching some eyes already. But what is your thoughts there on him, and what does he bring to the table?
I heard from someone that he was bumped up a little bit earlier than the Cardinals might have wanted, because pitchers were just stopped throwing him stuff. And that obviously elevates the walk rate a little bit, but he's obviously taking those walks. He's not he's not just swinging out of his shoes or anything. I mean, if he's a 55 across the board sort of guy, there's a lot of fantasy appeal in that. 20 stolen bases, 20 home runs, sort of power, sort of speed sort of guy. The upside might never be super crazy. Like, he might never be like a top 10 option at shortstop. He might be a top 10 option at second base. That's where he ultimately ends up, because second base is, as we all know, not great. So, people probably missed the boat on Dos Santos, because I know there's been some buzz about him, and obviously, maybe you can buy a little bit low, because it's not like he hasn't been having the home run tallies that he had in the complex. But again, it's only 39 games at single A. It's just exciting to see. He's a really good prospect, and the Cardinals are starting to pump out these interesting guys from the complex that come up. Ryan Rodriguez was just a year and a half ago. So Dos Santos is the next guy, and I'll be interested to see what's the next sort of wave for them. I'd be keeping an eye on the Cardinals, because they have Chaim Bloom, and Chaim Bloom does a really good job of player development. So the Cardinals complex league hitters and pitchers now are definitely someone that people should be, keeping an eye on before they really start to break out. Maybe getting a little bit aggressive in your fab bids.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's probably, yeah, I would say if he's available, you got to add him. But
yeah,
for the most part, I would be shocked if he were still available in most formats. But it's a pretty good approach. I'd say the chase rate's pretty low, which is encouraging to see. Contact's all right. Like, he's not like lighting the world on fire with contact overall, but the zone contact is solid. I'll be curious to see where the power lands. That's kind of the question. So far, it's looked so good, but we'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, Dos Santos is interesting and somebody that's certainly moving up boards. Now, the DSL guys, we have a tiny sample on, so we can't hold too fast to what we're saying because one, the DSL streams are few and far between. And while I do hop on YouTube some mornings at 11 o'clock and try to watch, like, you never know what you're going to get. So it makes it tougher. And at the same time, like, we're talking about maybe 15 games for most guys. That doesn't mean that we can't like discuss them because you got to get in on these guys early. So there's certainly like a list of the top signees that were coming in. And a few of those have kind of made it known already. And the first one is Angeibel Gomez with the Royals. He's probably been kind of the buzziest DSL prospect to this point. And for good reason. 15 games, 65 plate appearances. So again, a lot could change, but 2 home runs, 7 stolen bases already, 375, 523, 646. But what we're seeing is pretty good from him so far. He's a 6'2", 173 outfielder in the Royals org. And he's somebody we really liked. Like, he was one of the guys that was towards the top of mine and Rhys's list coming into the DSL season. So how is the start kind of affected his value, and how high should we push Gomez?
I think that we can get a little bit aggressive with him. I mean, obviously, we're at a point where we're past what they signed for, right? But he got big money. Like, he was probably top 5 bonus guy, top 8 at least. Like, he was definitely top 10. But he's showing all the tools that you want to see. He's stealing some bases. He's only been caught stealing once, which is pretty good. And he's hit 2 home runs. Like, a lot of guys only hit like a handful of home runs at that level because, again, they're 17, 18-year-old kids who aren't fully physically developed. He's walking at a good rate, so I'll take that as a win because the walk rates are going to be a little bit elevated because the pitching there is not very good. But he's not. Obviously, he's not really trying to, press or anything, and that's impressive to see in itself. So, yeah, I'd bump up Gomez a little bit. I don't know if I put him in the top 100. I still like players like Renteria a little bit more. I think the upside is a little bit higher with that sort of guy. But, yeah, I think this is a really interesting prospect, and I know that a lot of people in Discord are very excited about what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he looks like a future top 100 prospect. We can't go that high on him soon, but I am really intrigued by what he's doing so far. Like the underlying Baseball America posted, I don't have any of the DSL data, but they posted the other day about what he was doing. He has in a small sample, but a 93% zone contact, a 14% chase, and a 103.5 90th percentile. But the 90th percentile is really hard to quote at this point, just given how small the sample is, but it does look really, really good. So I'm intrigued by him and what he's doing. The Brewers always have guys pop every year. We talked about Frias. They get guys and they just develop. And Ricki Moneys is one of the guys that was part of this year's signing class. They had several guys, including I think Diego Frontado is the other big one. But they always get like several guys for a mil, and one of them develops into a stud. And Ricki Moneys has been really interesting. He's got 3 home runs to this point in 86 plate appearances, which is good. 7 stolen bases on 8 attempts. He lifts the ball well. Talking about 372 OBP and a 514 slug in the small sample. A lot of pulled fly balls, which you like to see on him. And he's showing some good traits overall. I mean, he's hit the cover off the ball. He's reached 111 miles an hour. The Brewers actually have some streams from time to time where you can watch these guys, and they have the TrackMan on it, which is awesome. So I watched a game earlier this week where he had 4 batted balls over 100, which was kind of silly for a, what is he, 17-year-old? Yeah, he's 17 and 8 months. So he's a lot of fun, and Moneys is somebody that's moving up for me because the end zone contact looks good at this point, but he's becoming an early favorite. But what say you on Moneys?
First of all, great name. Ricki
Yeah.
Moneys is a fantastic name. But yeah, it's so interesting. I don't know if you on Fangraphs, right? They have this new heat map feature, right, that you can throw on. His 372 OBP is considered blue, which means bad, which shows you the walk rate at this level is pretty ridiculous. Because he's walking 15% of the time. So it's if a major leaguer is walking 50% of the time, we'd all be like going crazy. But yeah, that's just the offensive environment of that league. There's the power, there's the speed. Again, good organization. The Brewers, I really like their approach. They kind of take their draft approach as well. It's like they kind of spread their money around, they leverage it well, and they get a bunch of guys. This is how a team can sort of maximize the resources that they have and play within the ballpark and play within the game, more or less. And Moneys is kind of in that, and it is probably the next interesting Brewers prospect. I'm probably going to be pretty aggressive on him with some fab bids and everything, because I just think that, I want to bet on the upside. I want to bet on the organization, and he's hitting for power. If you're hitting the ball 100 times or 400 mile per hour batted balls in a game at this age, I can only imagine what he's going to develop into. He's not the biggest guy by any means, but he's also 17, might still not be done growing. So there's a lot of projection here, and we're going to say that a lot with DSL guys. And yeah, and talking about like the YouTube streams and stuff, the hardest part about like scouting this level is you never know what lineup's going to play at any given day, right? Like they could roll out the JV lineup at a certain point. So, the fact that you tuned into Ricki Moneys and got lucky with that sort of thing is pretty impressive, and honestly, like super lucky. Because you never know who's going to play, and certain guys are sitting out. They only play like 3 to 4 times a week. So yeah, Ricki Moneys is someone that I'm very excited about, and I think that fantasy managers should be as well.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, there's a lot of teams that run multiple DSL teams with the stateside roster limits at 165. Like that's how teams kind of take advantage of that. They can put a bunch of guys at the Dominican complexes and run 2 teams, have 30 guys on each team, so they get more looks at guys, and guys pop up. Kind of like this guy, which is weird that we're talking about him, but Ricardo De La Paz, he's 16 with the Padres. He'll be 16 all year. He's a 6'4" lefty, throws lefty, bats lefty. Pretty big boy, listed at 6'4", 223. He doesn't have a single home run on the year, and he has 1 stolen base. But in 14 games, he's scored 16 times and driven in 17, which is pretty wild. He has a near 600 OBP and a 563 slug. He's walked 35% of the time. So we were talking about that. He only caught my eye because of what Dylan White wrote about him on the RoboScout article this week, that he had 2 batted balls hit harder than 107 miles an hour already, and he's 16. So that was kind of encouraging to see. And while he doesn't have a home run, he does have 6 doubles already. He's walking a ton. He's not striking out. The contact rates look pretty good on him. And the launch angles have been really good overall too. So this is somebody that's kind of interesting to watch. Like, I'd love to see, more of this guy. I'm not sure I've seen a Padres DSL stream, but I will try to find it for everybody's sake and see what we can find on him. But this was a name I didn't know much about until earlier this week. But a couple of those things caught my eye, and his WRC plus is one of the better ones in the DSL. But I don't know if you have heard any feedback or any thoughts on him.
I haven't heard anything on him, but a 16-year-old at this level, obviously one of the younger guys at the level, performing very well. We'd like to see the power sort of take a step forward. The one thing I always wonder about these bigger guys that are in the DSL, the 6'4", 220 guys, like who was the Texas Rangers prospect years ago?
Oh gosh,
Bayron Lora.
Yep.
Yeah, he was so physically bigger than anybody else that his production almost you kind of had to take with a discount a little bit because he's more physically developed, and probably I don't even know what he's doing at this point of his career. I was big on him. I was like, man, this guy's he's physically ready. He looks like an NFL tight end out there playing against children. But yeah, that is one thing I always worry about these guys that are already a little bit more physically developed than their average competition. 6'4", 223 is pretty developed and pretty impressive. But he's hitting the ball 107 miles an hour a couple times, and he's walking at a good clip. He's not chasing. I mean, this is a very nice guy to follow. I don't know if I'd place a fab bib on him yet. I think I kind of let it wait, let it sort of happen, see what happens here. I mean, if you are in a 500 plus. Maybe you throw like $1 on him or whatever in your fab process. But he's definitely worth following, because sometimes these DSL guys that come out of nowhere and post these good stats, they continue to post these good stats. I mean, Jesus Made wasn't exactly the most known prospect, and I'm not comparing him to Jesus Made, but he was not the top guy in that signing class, and he ended up becoming the best player from that crop. So Ricardo De La Paz is worth following until he gets traded to another organization, because the Padres are actively looking to make trades, from everything that I've heard from people within the Padres organization. And obviously, AJ Preller talks to the media more than anybody. So I would not be surprised if De La Paz is on a different organization here soon.
Yeah, it wouldn't be shocking. And I think you're right. This is a pretty insane size at 16 years old. But he's certainly an interesting one. I'm just kind of listening and following, as is this last guy. I feel like it should be simple. Just looks like Isaiah, but with an S on the end instead of a
Isaias.
There you go. That makes perfect sense. And I just reading it, like questioning myself in my head. Isaias Castillo with the Yankees. He's a DSL repeater, but he did just turn 18 a couple of days ago. So he's still fairly young, and he's completely flipped the profile on his head. He's shown good speed before, and last year he stole 14 bags and 105 plate appearances, which is good, but it was a pretty modest slash, and he hit the ball on the ground at a 52% clip with a 30.5% K rate. Now this year, it's already 7 home runs and 88 plate appearances, 7 stolen bases, and at 352, 477, 789 slash. Now the contact's more concerning. It's improved, but still a 26% K rate. And typically those things are just hard to improve on when they come stateside. But I think it is worth just mentioning Isaias Castillo of the Yankees, just given what he's done so far this year. Any quick thoughts on him before we get out of here?
No, the Yankees do this. They will keep guys back. I mean, look at Richard Maddock. Richard Maddock is someone that I really like in the Yankees organization. One of my favorite sleepers, I guess. He's actually performed pretty well in the complex, the Stateside complex. But yeah, the Yankees are not afraid to keep guys back for an extra year because they are sort of running up against it again, the domestic roster limits. He's worth keeping an eye on. But if the contact rate doesn't take a step forward at any point this season, then I would not pay too much attention to him going forward, just because it doesn't tend to get better when they come stateside. You don't all of a sudden go from like 26% strikeout rate to like a 20% guy. Like, if it does happen, it's very, very rare.
Yeah, I wish that more people would kind of grasp this. There's some things that are just hard to really develop, and we don't often see contact rates substantially improve in most players' career. Now there's outliers, and also like ground ball rates, like launch angles. It requires an like overhauled swing change, and those don't typically happen all that much. So I think those things are worth
conversation. Like he hits the ball as hard as anybody, but he hits the ball into the ground. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you pound it on the ground. Yeah, you'll run a higher BABIP, you'll hit some balls in the hole, but like for fantasy, do we really care about that?
Right.
I mean, so it makes it tough. But not to say that guys can't, but I do think that there are just so many different things that have to change in order for a player to really take off. But yeah, that's going to do it. 10 names to know, 6 from the complex, 4 from the DSL. It's been a fun show. Thank you for joining me, Rhys, and looking forward to getting back together next week, and we'll probably have some more live looks to talk about at that point.
Yep, I'm hoping so.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will talk again soon.